cavalry horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger. Hi-yo silver! Away! With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again.
For the third time in a month, the notorious Bull Gunderson gang had struck and then split up into pairs to make their trails harder to follow.
Well, there's the hideout, Terry. That's where we'll wait for Lou and Vince.
Gee, you've got a lot of hiding places, Bull. This is one even I didn't know about.
That's because you haven't been with me long, kid. We only use this one when we pull some really big jobs, like the last one.
Well, when do you figure Lou and Vince ought to get here?
Well, they should have been here before us. I had them use the shortcut. Well, come on, let's get this money hidden. Ever see a prettier sight? Close to $250,000 in that vault of mine.
Boy, I never thought I'd see that much money.
Oh, you earned your share of it, kid. Every last dollar of it. You know, when I think back to the day I first found you, you was wounded, sick, half-starved, your ma and pa killed by the Indians. I told you then, remember? This is a dog-eat-dog world. If you want money, you gotta go out and get it for yourself. Don't expect anybody to bring it to you. Well, I was right, wasn't I?
I guess you were, Bull.
You know, the trouble with you, kid, is you still got a conscience. Now, that's something I never was bothered with. I wasn't too sure of you at first. I didn't know whether you had the makings of a good outlaw or not.
I've often wondered about that, Bull. I wasn't like the rest of you. Why did you take me in?
Because I needed you, boy. My best man, Joe Curley, just died of the fever. Now, the law didn't know that. I wanted them to go on thinking he was still alive. I knew they'd never suspect an innocent-looking kid like you had taken his place.
Well, I'm mighty grateful to you, Bull. I guess if you hadn't come along when you did, I might have died out there.
Hey, I'm getting a little worried. Lou and Vince are way overdue. Look here, boy. There's a little town called Pine Gap, about 20 miles from here. Now, you're not known over there. I want you to ride over there, nose around, see what you can find out. Buy a newspaper. The whole territory ought to know about that last job of ours by now. There's sure to be something in the papers.
All right, Bull. I'll go right away.
Be careful.
No use, Kemo Sabe. You not find tracks anywhere here.
It's all right, Tonto. I found them again, on the other side of the river, about a mile downstream.
You think them tracks are Bull Gunderson and Joe Curley?
I'm almost sure they are. Only an outlaw as smart as Gunderson would leave a trail that's difficult to follow.
Where them headed?
But they seem to be going in the direction of a town named Pine Gap.
Well, that's a long way yet. We stop for food now?
Later, Tonto. Right now, I'm much more interested in seeing the look on Gunderson's face when you and I show up, instead of the two outlaws he's expecting, Lou Garth and Vince Bailey.
You think him not know we already captured them and turned them over to law?
I'm hoping he doesn't. If he's not expecting us, the chances of our taking him by surprise will be that much better. The sooner we pick up his trail, the sooner we'll bring him to justice. Come on, let's go.
Hiya, Bull.
Hello, kid. What took you so long, kid? I thought you'd never get here.
Well, I heard a rumor that Lou and Vince had been captured.
What?
So I waited for the stage to get in with the late newspapers from Banyonville. Look.
Late yesterday, 2 members of the notorious Gunderson gang were turned over to the sheriff by a masked man and an Indian who had captured them after a long and bitter chase. Although the masked man refused to identify himself and disappeared before he could be questioned, it was generally believed that he could only have been the famous and much acclaimed hero of the Western Plains known as the Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger. I knew the law would never take Lou and Vince, but I hadn't counted on the Ranger.
Well, have you had run-ins with him before?
Oh, no. I've been too smart for that. I managed to steer clear of him whenever he got near. But now it looks like it's time for a showdown.
Well, do you figure Lou and Vince told him where the hideout is?
No, they'd never talk. But that isn't going to stop the Lone Ranger from coming after us and finding us. He's got a knack of tracking men, even when they don't leave no tracks.
Well, then we better get out of here fast.
No, kid. I think he'd find us wherever we went. I think the time has come now to stop running away from that hombre and start running towards him.
What do you mean?
Just this. I'm not going to try and outride, outfight, or outshoot him. I'd probably lose. But I have got a brain just as good as he has, so I'm going to outsmart him.
How?
By using you.
I don't get you.
Look, kid, we've got pretty near $250,000 stashed away under that floor. Now, we're not going to get a chance to enjoy a penny of it until we dispose of the masked man and his Indian pal once and for all. Are you with me?
I guess so.
Good. Now, listen. He doesn't know you or anything about you. He still thinks the 4th member of my gang is Joe Curley. Now, supposing somewhere along the trail while he's tracking down Curley and me, he comes across you, all beaten up. And supposing you was to tell him how 2 outlaws that fit the description of Curley and me did the job on you. I reckon he'd want to help you, don't you think so?
I guess he would.
Sure he would. Kid, you got a face so innocent anybody'd trust it.
Supposing he does fall for the bait, what would I do then?
Well, you lead him into a trap that we got all ready and waiting. There'll be no ambush, no fighting, no gunplay. When the time comes, the masked man and the Indian will just be swallowed up.
Swallowed up? How?
You remember those old abandoned mine shafts out Oak Hill way?
Yeah.
You know the ones they haven't covered up?
Uh-huh.
Well, now, just supposing you and me was to cover one of them with enough leaves and twigs so it wouldn't bear the weight of 2 men, and just supposing the Lone Ranger and the Indian was to just fall into it.
It's not as deep as I thought.
Huh? That's all of 20 feet down there, and those walls are sheer. Anyone falls in there, he'll never get out.
Supposing somebody comes by.
Oh, no one's used this trail for years. It's been deserted.
It's gonna take a lot of dirt to cover that hole.
Yeah. I'll come back and finish that up later. Right now, we gotta get down to that crossroads. That masked man and the Indian are as hot on our trail as I think they are. They'll be coming along any minute. I've got to find you there at the crossroads to make sure they come this way.
Right. Let's go.
All right, kid, I guess this is far enough. We don't want to leave hoof prints or footprints near the trail where they'll find you. Now, your story's going to be that you dragged yourself through the bushes to get there. And that's just what you're going to do.
Oh, I get it. I roll in the dirt, mess myself up, and make them think I've taken a beating.
I'm sorry, kid. That's not good enough.
What do you mean?
I mean this.
Hey, what's the big idea?
Sorry, kid, I had to do it. The Ranger's too smart to be taken in by any phony beating. It had to be the real thing.
You think of everything, don't you?
Oh, just keep your mind on the money. That'll make the pain go away. Well, that cheek's beginning to swell up nicely. That bruise will look mighty convincing.
Sure feels convincing.
All right, I'm going back to the shaft, finish that camouflage job. Now, you start crawling to the crossroads. When you get there, just lie still and wait. If we've got any sort of luck, you won't have to wait long for the masked man and the Indian.
Well, do we have to kill him?
Look, kid, I told you, it's them or us. Now get going. I'll be waiting for you back at the shaft. I'll leave a good, clear trail for him to follow.
There's a trail crossroads ahead, Tonto. If our hunch is right and Gunderson and Curly are headed for Pine Gap, they'll have taken the left turn.
Oh,
Did you hear that?
Come from up ahead.
help! Help!
Why, he's just a boy, Tonto.
Someone beat him up bad.
Masked. And I thought you were a friend.
I am a friend.
No, you're not. You're an owl hoot, just like those two who beat me up and stole my horse.
If we were really outlaws, son, we wouldn't stop and look after you like this. You should judge us by what we do, not by what we wear.
Yeah, I reckon you're right about that. Those two who beat me up weren't masked, but they sure acted like outlaws.
Who are you, son?
My name is Britt. Terry Britt.
You tell us what happened.
Well, it was about a half a mile over that way. I was riding toward Pine Gap when these two jumped out at me, and one was a 6-footer and the other had thick, short, curly hair.
Certainly sounds like Gunderson and Curly.
Who?
Never mind, son. Just tell us the rest of what happened.
Well, one of their horses had gone lame and they had to leave it behind. That's why they jumped me so that they could have mine and keep going where they were headed.
Did you hear any hint of where that might be?
Well, yeah. It was after they'd beaten me up. Reckon they thought I was unconscious. They mentioned something about getting to the Oak Hill mining area before nightfall.
Mining area. That mean they'll not go to Pine Gap like you think, Kemo Sabe.
No. I don't see what they expect to gain by reaching Oak Hill.
Well, they talked about a hideout near there somewhere with lots of money cached away. They were going to pick up the money and then head for the border.
I'm glad we found you, Terry. If we capture these men as a result of the information you've given us, you'll get a big reward.
I don't want a reward.
You'll deserve it. Any honest citizen who helps bring crooks to justice is entitled to the gratitude of his neighbors. I'm going after Gunderson and Curly. Tonto, you better stay here and look after Terry.
Oh, no such thing. I want to go with you. I've got a score to settle with those crooks myself.
But you have no horse, boy.
Well, I could ride with one of you, couldn't I?
All right, son, if that's the way you want it. That campfire was very recently put out, Tonto. Gunderson and Curly must have stopped here to eat.
Them pick plenty rocky ground and no footprints.
But it has to be them, Tonto. The hoof prints of their two horses were plain all the way up the path.
That right. Prints plenty clear. Them head for mining area like you say.
So we're gaining on them. How are you holding up, Terry?
Fine, but let's keep after them. I can tell by the landmarks that we're nearing the Oak Hill section.
Silver and Scout need a little water. Would you take them down by the stream and get them a drink? Tonto and I will look around here for a while.
Sure thing.
You think boy tell truth?
Don't you?
Me not sure. Him look honest and sound honest, but me not feel right about him.
He strikes me the same way. I've never seen a more honest face. Well, I don't know. There's something else. I can't quite put my finger on it. I think he's an unhappy boy and a frightened one.
You think him lead us on wild goose chase?
No, I'm convinced we're on the trail of Gunderson and Curly. All the clues point to it.
Then you do think him tell truth.
About where Gunderson and Curly are headed, yes. But the question is Terry helping us to find them, or is he leading us into a trap?
What we do, tie up boy and leave him behind?
No, Tonto. We must capture Gunderson at all costs. If Terry is honest, the trail will lead us to Gunderson. If Terry is crooked, he'll lead us to Gunderson. We'll have to risk the danger and keep our eyes and ears open at every moment. Look, one of them dismounted there, while the other one led the horses through the woods. There are only the boot prints of one man from here on.
What you make of it?
I'm not sure.
I know this country pretty well, mister. There's lots of old open mine shafts and pits along this path, some of them hidden by underbrush. I think the outlaws knew about it, too, and figured it'd be safer on foot from here.
I've heard of those mine shafts. We better leave Silver and Scout here while we follow those boot prints and see where they lead us. I don't like this, Tonto. I have a feeling there's something wrong.
Me have same feeling. Too quiet.
Do you think it's some kind of an ambush?
I don't know, Terry. It could be.
Maybe we ought to turn back.
These boot prints lead somewhere. If Gunderson and Curly are waiting at the other end, well, they're the men we came after. We'll have to risk it.
Ouch!
What's the matter?
I got a stone in my boot. I'll have it out in a second.
Great work, kid. You couldn't have done it better. What's the matter with you?
I feel sick. I never killed anybody before.
Oh, you'll get over it.
Are you sure they're really dead, Bull?
Of course they're dead, kid.
Wish I could be sure. It'd be awful if they were still alive down there and had to die being thirsty.
Now, look, kid, I tell you, it's solid rock down there. I've been down in these things. No one could survive a fall down there. Now, come on, let's get our horses.
Boy double-cross us.
Yes, he must have been working for Gunderson all along. Mr. Gunderson laid a neat little trap for us, Tonto, but he forgot one item. It's been raining heavily all winter. The water carried lots of mud and underbrush down to the bottom of this shaft. If it hadn't, we'd be as dead as he thinks we are.
How we get out? Wall's too steep. No way to climb.
We'll have to find a way.
Hey, what are you going to do with that?
I gotta see if they're alive, Bull. I can't just leave them down there like this.
Going soft on me.
Well, no, Bull, but, well, these weren't bad fellas. They took good care of me when they thought I was hurt. They're square shooters. They really try to help folks.
Yeah, I see. And supposing you do find them still alive, what are you going to do? Toss them a rope, haul them out, nurse them back to health again, and then give yourself up to them? Is that it?
Well, no, Bull. We still have time to get the money and make a getaway. They couldn't follow us. But it just isn't human to leave them down there like this.
Okay, kid. Man's got to do what he has to do. I'll let you down. Give me the rope. Sorry I had to do that, kid. You were just too soft.
Oh, my leg! Oh! You are alive.
That's right, Terry.
Well, go on. Kill me. I have it coming to me. I tried to kill you.
We try to save lives, Terry, not take them.
Feel like boy's leg broken.
We'll have a hard time setting it down here. We must find a way to get out.
I don't get it. Why should you try to help me after what I did to you?
Maybe we don't think you're quite as bad as you think you are, Terry. Just what became of Joe Curly? Was he in on this trap, too?
No, he died months ago of the fever. I took his place.
So that's how Gunderson fooled us all. Where's he headed now, Terry? Or don't you want to help us find him?
Oh, sure I do, mister. I'll help any way I can. He's got a hideout place over near Pine Gap. All the bank money's hidden there. He'll try to pick it up and head for the border.
That doesn't give us much time to stop him, Tonto.
Stop him? You sound like we're really going to get out of here. Look at these walls. They're straight up and down and sheer rock. Nobody could climb them.
I don't intend to climb them. But there is a way out. Especially since you so thoughtfully brought this rope down with you.
Well, what good's the rope down here? We can't pull ourselves up on it.
There may be a way that we can.
Silver! Silver! Come on, boy.
How do you figure a horse is going to help us when he's up there and we're down here?
Don't underestimate Silver. He's a very intelligent horse and a very strong one.
Silver! Here, Silver. Come on, boy.
Not quite enough.
Made it. The road, big fella. Put your feet in the loop. Put your feet in the loop, big fella. You can do it. He's done it. Steady, boy. Hold steady now. I'm coming right up. Steady, boy.
How do you feel, Terry?
Oh, my leg kind of hurts, but I'm so glad to get out of there alive. Nothing else matters.
Tonto, do you think you can set his leg without any help from me?
A break not too bad. Me not need help.
Good. I'm going after Gunderson. We can't risk letting him get across the border with all that money. It would ruin too many people.
Well, you just keep following that trail, mister, and you can't miss his hideout. And this time I'm not lying.
I'm sure you're not, Terry. Gunderson.
How did you get out of that shaft?
Never mind how I got out. Just drop that money.
You'll have to kill me first.
I don't intend to kill you. The law wants you alive. Drop it, I said.
Why? So I can spend the rest of my life in prison? No, thanks.
On your feet, Gunderson. I'm taking you and the money in just as I said I would. We've told the sheriff all about you, Terry. You'll have to pay for your crimes, of course. But since you've helped to capture Gunderson and agreed to testify against him, the law may be lenient with you.
Gee, thanks, mister. I sure appreciate what you've done for me.
You've helped yourself, Terry, by seeing how wrong you were. I hope we'll be hearing nothing but good reports about you from now on. Goodbye, Terry. Come on, Tonto.
So, you want to spill everything, huh? I save your life when you're sick and starving. This is the thanks I get.
You didn't save my life, Bull. You wrecked it. I only wish the masked man and the Indian had found me instead of you. I wouldn't be in here now.
Oh, I'm not good enough for you, huh? You don't want to be like Bull Gunderson anymore.
I sure don't. From now on, there's only one man I want to be like. He's the Lone Ranger.
Hail, Silver! Away! The Lone Ranger. Hail, Silver! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver. The Lone Ranger. Hi-Yo Silver! Away! With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again.
The Lone Ranger and Tonto, on their way to the town of Mesa Junction, began to look for a camping place for the night. The masked man and his Indian friend had heard reports that the town of Mesa Junction was in danger of being taken over by an unscrupulous gambler named Arnie Mason. The sheriff of Mesa Junction, Jess Harper, was an old friend of the Lone Rangers and the only man now standing between Mason and his evil schemes.
We need supplies, Tonto. You ride into Mesa Junction and I'll set up camp.
Me have talk with Sheriff Harper?
Yes, tell him we're in the area and that we're here to help him.
Me do.
Got a note here from one of your neighbors.
Yeah, what about?
I'm afraid it's bad news, young fella. Your wife's ailing.
What is it? What's wrong with her?
The letter don't say, son. Just says she's doing poorly and asking to see you.
Look, Sheriff, you've got to let me out of here. Let me go see Nancy. I'll come back. Word of honor, I will.
Now, Jeff, I can't do that. That'd be breaking the law. Besides, you're under arrest.
Oh, I'm only in here for disturbing the peace. It's not as if I committed a real crime.
I know, son, but I'm thinking about Arnie Mason and what he might say.
Now, look, Sheriff, I'm the only one in the jail now. I can sneak out the rear door and come back before anyone's the wiser.
Well, I suppose you could do that. You could take my horse and be back here before dark.
Sooner than that, Sheriff. I'll only need 2 hours.
All right. I'll take a chance. I wouldn't want to have it on my conscience if anything serious was wrong with Nancy.
I'm obliged to you, Sheriff. You'll never regret this. And don't worry, I'll be back.
I'm not worried about that, Jeff. You're no criminal. You'll find my horse tied out back there. Get there fast and give my love to Nancy.
Right.
Howdy, Sheriff.
What do you want, Mason?
Just paying a friendly visit. Well, looks like the bird has flown the gilded cage. What happened to your prisoner, Sheriff?
His wife's ailing. I let him out to visit her.
You let him out? That's a strange way to discharge your responsibilities.
I know what I'm doing. He'll be back.
You sure of that?
I wouldn't have let him go if I wasn't.
Well, I think you're wrong. I don't think you let him out at all. I think he broke out of jail.
What are you getting at?
I think he stole your keys, sneaked out of a cell, and then beat it after a big fight with you.
You're crazy, Mason, and I can prove it. I've got a letter here.
Sure you have a letter. But Jeff's neighbor didn't send it. I did.
You?
That's right. You've been standing in my way long enough, Harper. I figured it was time I got rid of you. Only I wanted to do it in the right way. Hot-headed young cowhand kills sheriff breaking out of jail. Simple, isn't it?
Wait, no!
All right, boys, let's break it up. Break it up. He's dead. Jeff Hope's gone. Looks like a jailbreak.
He must have took the sheriff's horse. It's gone, too.
This is murder. We can't let him get away with it. Bert, you're coroner in this town, and under the laws of the territory, you're now acting sheriff. I suggest you form a posse.
You're right, Mason. We gotta go after Jeff Hope right away. Come on, man. He can't have gotten very far.
It's not Jeff that's worrying me, Nancy. We can get him out of this scrape, all right. It's what's happening to Mesa County that has me riled up.
You mean Arnie Mason and what he's doing?
That's right. If things keep on as they're going now, well, this town will soon be unfit for decent people to live in.
What are we going to do about it?
I don't rightly know, Nancy. Mason has control of everything but the sheriff's office now. If he gets that, well, all of us might just as well move out of town.
I guess you're right. but I hate to think about it. Jeff and I have worked hard to build a home here for ourselves and the children.
Well, you have lots of company, Nancy.
Jeff!
Nancy, are you all right, honey?
Well, of course I'm all right, but what are you doing here?
Oh, one of our neighbors sent the sheriff a note. He said that you were ill. He let me out to come and see you.
Ill?
Oh, well, don't look at me. I don't know anything about it.
You mean you haven't been ill?
Well, I've been terribly upset, of course, about you, but that wouldn't explain the letter.
Well, I can't understand that.
Well, let's don't complain about it. At least it gives us a chance to see each other.
Still, you know, there's something strange about it. Who's that?
It's that polecat Mason. He brought a gang with him.
Well, they'd better not find me here. It would cost Sheriff Harper his job. Look, I'll hide back there. You get rid of him as fast as you can.
What do you suppose Mason's doing here?
I don't know, but I don't like the looks of this.
Come in.
Sorry to intrude, Mrs. Hope, but we're looking for your husband.
What for?
The murder of Sheriff Harper.
What kind of a scheme and lie is this, Mason?
It happens to be a fact, Judge Wells. Young Hope killed the sheriff and broke out of jail. If you don't believe me, ask the coroner, who incidentally is now acting sheriff.
Also one of your puppets.
In the name of the law, I demand you turn this criminal over to me.
But he isn't here.
We know he's here, Mrs. Hope. We followed his trail.
And Sheriff Harper's horse is tied in the barn. Your husband's got to be here.
Come on, Sheriff. He's in here.
Why, he's ducked out the window.
We'll get him.
What am I going to do?
I'd better get back to town and find out what this is all about. I'll get in touch with you later. And try not to worry, my dear. I'm sure Jeff isn't guilty of this thing.
At their campsite, the Lone Ranger was setting things in order when his faithful Indian companion Tonto returned from Mesa Junction.
What's wrong, Tonto? You look as though you bring bad news.
Very bad news, Kemo Sabe. Sheriff Harper dead. People say him killed in jailbreak, but me not sure. Find this on floor of jail.
Well, looks like part of a letter.
Someone tried to burn it.
It apparently was written to Sheriff Harper. It says something about a woman being ill.
Me not know if letter important, but bring anyway.
You did the right thing, Tonto. This might be a very important clue. Wait. Who are you?
Well, I'm not one of your kind. I don't wear a mask.
A mask alone does not make a man an outlaw. You look as though you're in trouble.
I am. Plenty of trouble.
Why don't you tell us about it?
What good would that do?
It might do more good than you think.
All right, I'll sing for my supper. My name's Jeff Hope. I'm accused of murdering the sheriff of Mesa Junction, but I didn't do it. Someone sent the sheriff a forged note saying my wife was ill. He let me out to go see her. Then he was killed.
But your wife not ill?
She's as healthy as you are. It was all part of a plot to pin the murder on me.
Would you recognize the note if you saw it?
I think so. The sheriff gave me a look at it.
Is this part of it?
Yeah, that's it. Where'd you find it?
My Indian friend found it.
Well, let me have it. If I find out who wrote it, I'll know who killed the sheriff.
Suppose you let us handle this. Tonto, saddle up Silver. We're going to Mesa Junction. Jeff, you stay here. There's food in the packs. You'll be safe here for the time being.
I don't know why, mister, but I believe in you. Oh, one more thing. I'd like to tell my wife about that note.
It might be risky if you left camp.
Yeah, but Nancy must be terribly worried.
I realize that, but I hope you will remain here while Tonto and I investigate.
All right.
What we do now, Kemo Sabe?
Well, if young Jeff Hope is telling the truth, and I believe he is, that scrap of letter you found is the key to this whole business.
You think murderer write letter is part of plot?
Yes. If we can identify the handwriting on that letter, we'll know who did the killing.
Where we start, Kemo Sabe? There are many people in Mesa Junction.
Now, the one man who's certain to profit by Sheriff Harper's death is Mason. Let's start with him.
Where we get sample of handwriting compare with letter?
Well, Mason owns a lot of property in town. That means his name is on many legal documents. Let's get a hold of one.
That'd not be easy.
There's a Judge Wells living in Mesa Junction. I've heard he's a decent citizen who's fought against Mason. He may be able to help us. Let's pay him a visit.
Meanwhile, with Sheriff Harper out of the way, Arnie Mason and his gang have succeeded in taking over the town of Mesa Junction. A murder complaint has been issued against Jeff Hope, and the populace aroused against him.
I don't know how you managed it, Mason, but somehow you framed Jeff Hope.
I don't know what you're talking about, Judge.
Oh, yes, you do. I'm here to tell you can't get away with it.
No, I'm sheriff of this county now, Judge. And I'm telling you that Jeff Hope is going to get a fair trial before he's hanged.
You'll have to catch him first.
We'll catch him. Don't worry.
Judge Wells?
Who are you?
Friends.
Friends? A man wearing a mask?
A mask isn't always the badge of an outlaw.
What do you want with me?
I want to talk to you about Jeff Hope and Arnie Mason.
Oh, so you work for Mason.
I work for Law and Order. I believe that Arnie Mason is responsible for Sheriff Harper's death. And with your help, I may be able to prove it.
Go on.
This is a portion of a letter that was sent to Sheriff Harper just before he was killed. It confirms Jeff Hope's story that he was released from jail to visit his sick wife. I want to compare the handwriting with a sample of Arnie Mason's.
Where did you get this?
My Indian friend found it.
On floor of sheriff's office near body.
Then you've seen Jeff, heard his story?
Yes, Jeff is at my camp now outside town.
Well, we'll soon find out if Mason wrote this letter. I've had a lot of correspondence from him on business matters. Here's one of his letters. The handwriting looks the same to me.
It is the same.
I don't know who you are, mister, but Jeff Hope should be mighty grateful to you. This may be the means of saving his life.
Well, it will help, Judge. But it isn't conclusive evidence against Mason. I'm sure you realize that.
That's true. And since the sheriff is now one of Mason's men, I see no point in turning this evidence over to him.
Judge Wells, they've caught...
It's all right, Nancy. These men are friends. What did you start to say?
They've caught Jeff.
What?
Are you Mrs. Hope?
That's right.
Where did they catch your husband and how?
He came back to the house to see me. The sheriff's men were waiting and hiding.
I asked him to stay in camp.
He wanted to tell me something. Something about a letter and a man. Well, you must be the man who promised to help him.
I am. We'll have to move quickly now. Mason will lose no time in bringing your husband to trial.
And with Mason in control of the courts, the cards are stacked against Jeff.
We must force Mason out into the open. Make him show his hand. Judge, would you mind going back to our camp with Tonto? I'll meet you there in an hour. I'd suggest you take a friend with you, someone like yourself whom the people trust and will listen to.
What's your plan?
Trust me, Judge. I'll explain later. There isn't time now. Here, Tonto. Keep this. And now I'm going to pay Mr. Mason a little visit.
Are you sure he can be trusted?
You not worry, miss. Him good friend.
Hey, Sheriff. Got a cigarette? Well, ordinarily, I don't do favors for criminals, but seeing as how you haven't got long to live...
I wouldn't be too sure about that.
Oh?
The case against me may not be as airtight as you think.
Well, what makes you say that?
Will you just send for my lawyer, Judge Wells? I've got a right to see him, you know.
Don't worry about your rights, Hope. You'll get them. The last rights.
say anything more?
Yeah, he asked to see his lawyer.
I don't understand it. He's much too calm for a man in his spot. I'd like to know the reason.
Maybe he's only bluffing, Chief.
Maybe, but I don't think so. There's something else behind this, something we don't know about.
Okay, mister. I got you covered. Drop your guns.
I haven't even reached for them yet. You Arnie Mason?
That's right. Who are you? And why the mask?
The mask is my own business, Mason. But I think I have something that will interest you.
What is it?
Tell your friend to put his gun away. It's a scrap of letter.
Letter?
A letter that was written to Sheriff Harper just before he was killed. Supposedly by one of Jeff Hope's neighbors. It was found in this office, partially burned. It indicates that Jeff Hope is telling the truth, and that he didn't try to make a jailbreak.
Do you, have this piece of paper with you?
I didn't think it would be very wise to carry it with me. After all, it was probably written by Sheriff Harper's murderer.
Now, look here. If you've got any evidence in the Harper case, you've got to turn it over to the sheriff's office.
All right, Sheriff. I'll turn it over tomorrow, publicly, so everyone in town can have a good look at the handwriting.
How do we know you didn't make up this whole story?
I thought you'd ask that. Perhaps this will answer your question.
Just what have you in mind, mister?
It seems as though that scrap of paper ought to be worth money. Say about $5,000. I'm camped outside of town, about a mile up from the bend on Willow Creek. Suppose you bring the money there in about an hour.
And if I don't?
In that case, I'll have to call on Jeff Hope's lawyer. He might be interested in what I have to sell.
What do you make of that guy, Chief?
I don't know. Yet.
Do you think he's really got the letter?
He has part of it, all right, and we've got to get it back. But what's bothering me is just how...
I want to see my husband.
No visitors allowed.
But I've a right to see him. You're not being fair.
I'm sheriff here now, and I make the rules.
Now, Sheriff, don't be too hard on the lady. Of course she has the right to see her husband if she wants to.
Jeff, are you all right?
Sure, honey. I told you not to worry.
I met the masked man, Jeff. He's promised to help. Oh, Jeff, I hope I didn't.
I think it's all right, honey, but keep your voice down.
I just had to tell you about it, Jeff. I'm sure everything's going to be all right now.
So the masked man is going to help him, eh? I thought there was something funny about that guy. I'm sure of it.
What's wrong, Chief?
Our masked friend is apparently trying to set a trap for us, Bert. But do you know what we're going to do?
Huh?
We're going to walk right into it.
Now, do you gentlemen understand the situation?
I'm still not clear on what you're after.
I want to get conclusive evidence that Mason was involved in Sheriff Harper's murder. Enough evidence to persuade you and the other decent citizens of Mesa Junction to act against him.
We'll do all we can to help you, mister.
Good.
That must be his camp up ahead. Got your part in this straight?
Yes, but do you think you're handling this right, Chief?
We must get that letter back, and this is the only way it can be done. Come on.
Two men come up trail now.
All right, Judge, you and Doc Fairbanks hide yourselves.
Right.
What me do, Kemo Sabe?
Stay here with me, Tonto, but let me do the talking.
Do you have the letter?
When I see your money, I'll show you the letter.
But do you have it with you?
Yes, I have it with me.
All right, Sheriff. Do your duty.
In the name of the law, I demand you turn that letter over to me.
But you agreed to pay for it. This is a double cross.
The sheriff of this county doesn't bargain with criminals. We agreed to meet you here in order to prevent you from turning it over to the wrong people.
And now, if you please, the letter.
All right. Here it is, inside this envelope.
Come out of there, whoever you are. We heard you.
Well, if it isn't Judge Wells and his friend Doc Fairbanks. Now, just what are you two doing here?
Point is, what are you doing here?
You must have heard what went on. I'm here with my friend the sheriff on official business. We heard this man had some evidence in the Harper case, valuable evidence. We came on out to get it. Is that right, Bert?
Sure, we're just here to do our duty by the taxpayers.
It's a good act, Mason, but I'd like to see what's in that envelope.
This? Why, that's the evidence, Judge. And I'd be only too happy to show it to you. Now, isn't that a shame? Dropped it in the fire. Well, accidents will happen.
Accident, nothing. You destroyed that paper because it identified you with the murder of Sheriff Harper.
Yes, it did, Judge. It was the only real evidence you had. But now it's gone. And you ought to know better than anyone that you can't try a man for a crime without evidence. Well, I'm afraid your little trap didn't work, mister.
Oh, yes, it did, Mason. Because I've just found out enough to convince me that you and your gang are responsible for Sheriff Harper's death.
You seem to forget, Doctor, that your evidence has gone up in flames.
Wrong again, Mason. I thought you'd try some sort of trick. So the envelope I gave you, the one that you burned, was empty. The real letter is in Judge Wells' safe.
Meanwhile, Mason, you said just enough to betray yourself.
Tonto, let's tie them up and take them into town.
Jeff, I told you everything was going to be all right.
Jeff, Doc Fairbanks has agreed to take over the sheriff's office until we've cleaned out the rest of Mason's men. And in view of what has happened, he's agreed also to suspend your sentence.
And we better start thinking about who run for sheriff.
Seems to me the man with the mask could be the best sheriff Mesa Junction could get. What happened to him?
Yes, and who is he anyway?
Haven't you figured that out yet? He's the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger. A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver. The Lone Ranger. Hi-Yo Silver! Away! With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again.
As settlers along the frontier moved further westward, the temporary homes they left behind gradually returned to the earth, to the small animals and the vines and the wind. Occasionally, however, another sort of occupant took over. Then for a night, the shack would belong to the drifter, the man without plan or purpose, who had come out of nowhere and was going nowhere. Sometimes, pleased with his luck, he might decide to stay on for a while. Nothing wrong with that. And yet, in the raw, crude early days of the West, a man's whole life might hang on just such a simple decision.
No sign of Leo's horse. I thought you told him to be here at sunrise, George.
I did.
I hate a man who's late for an appointment.
Probably on his way. Relax.
Yeah. It's chilly. Are you sure this shack is empty?
Earl, will you please stop worrying? We both checked the place yesterday, didn't we?
Well, check it again. Here comes Leo now. Well, we were beginning to wonder whether or not you'd honor us with your presence.
Well, I got here as soon as I could.
I hope the governor didn't hear you leave.
The way that man sleeps, he wouldn't hear a cannon if it went off in his ear.
Oh, to sleep like that.
Oh, to have a conscience like that.
Yeah. Well, let's get these arrangements over with. We don't want him to wake up and find his bodyguard gone. Everything is still all right, isn't it? I mean, you haven't given him any reason to suspect you.
Look, this is the first vacation the man's had since he was appointed governor of this territory. He's too busy having a good time to suspect anybody of anything. He can fish all day if he wants, go hunting, riding, almost anything.
Doesn't he ever worry about territorial affairs?
Well, he figures his capable assistant can handle anything that comes up.
That's you, brother. Take a bow.
Well, why shouldn't he trust me? I can do the work as well as he can.
Maybe not as honestly.
That's not funny, Leo. It seems to me I've cut both of you in on everything I've done. You're not exactly Lily White, you know.
We're jealous, Earl. We're mad because the thought never occurred to us to take over a whole territory.
Nobody's stopping you if you want to get out?
I don't want to get out.
Then keep a civil tongue in your head. If it weren't for me, you'd still be back east digging ditches. I was the one who put you on the governor's payroll. Yes, and that goes for you, too. The governor didn't want a bodyguard. I talked him into it.
Oh, stop it. You never did anything in the world out of the kindness of your heart, Earl. You got in touch with me because you wanted me to kill a man. Well, since that man happens to be Governor Taggart, you saw that I got a job close to him. All right. Well, now we're here to discuss prices and nothing else. So please spare me your lecture.
Bravo! Hear, hear.
You keep your mouth shut. I'm glad to know where I stand with you, Leo. From now on, this is just a business venture.
Good.
I believe we agreed on $500 now and $500 more when the job is done.
We did. But the price has gone up since then.
What?
You heard me. I want 1,000 now and 5,000 when he's dead.
You're out of your mind. I can't afford that kind of money.
Earl, who do you think you're kidding? With Taggart gone, you'll be the big boss until Washington appoints a new governor. Maybe they'll appoint you. But even if they don't, you'll be assistant to the new man. And by the time he gets here, you'll have everything organized the way you want it. You can squeeze this territory till it screams.
No. It's too much money.
Suit yourself.
Wait. All right. 1,000 now. When are you going to do the job?
The governor and I are leaving today to go back to Capital City on the 10 o'clock stage. Just the two of us.
Just the two of you? What about the driver?
That's why I chose the morning stage. The driver happens to be a man named Cochran, an old friend of mine. I met him in a prison in New York before he broke out. Well, when I told him I'd have to let the law know where he was unless he helped me, he saw the light right away.
You have such reasonable friends, too.
Anyway, the road crosses Indian River about 3 miles beyond Batesville. I'll do the job there. We'll make it look as though the horses ran onto the bridge too fast. Coach plunged into the river and Taggart was drowned. Cochran and I can always say we swam to the bank after trying to save the governor. Any marks they find on him, any blows around the head, will look like the results of the fall. Purely accidental.
You'll contact me afterward.
You bet I will. Time I was getting back to the hotel. Any more questions?
No.
Good. I'll see you in a couple of days.
came from in there. There he goes. Did you hear that, Tonto?
Shots come from that direction, Kemo Sabe.
We'd better investigate. Come on, Silver.
He must have heard everything. I told you to. Listen.
Somebody's coming.
Let's get out of here.
He's badly hurt, Tonto.
Me go after the man who shot him, Kemo Sabe?
We'll go after him later. Right now, this old fellow needs attention. I'll take him into that shack. You get the horses.
Well, I gotta get a lot through. No, don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Take it easy, old-timer. Everything's all right now.
They're gonna kill him. I must get there, warn them.
Who are they going to kill?
I was listening. I heard everything they said. Three of them. Must tell.
He's still alive, Tonto, but he should have medical attention immediately.
We passed Doctor's house on outskirts of Batesville, Kemo Sabe.
Yes. I'll go back there. You stay here with the old fellow. Do what you can for him. And listen carefully to anything he says. Obviously, someone's life is in great danger. Every moment may count.
Me understand.
Well, you're the one who wanted to come back here.
Look.
Masked. Well, at least we know he's not a lawman.
His pal is still in there. Maybe that bullet didn't kill the old man.
What if he talks?
Pull yourself together.
Everything is ruined, George.
Nothing's ruined. We've just been a little careless. I think we can fix that.
Yes, I think we can. I never did hear of a dead witness testifying in court.
That's more like it, brother.
Well, I knew I should never let you talk me into this game, Doc. Didn't seem quite fair for a young fellow like you to take advantage of a poor broken...
Why, you healthy old hypochondriac. This is the first checker game I've won off of you in 2 years.
Yeah, it's no use trying to soothe my wounded feelings. Well, I guess I'll go on home now and kind of practice up a bit. Say, where's my pills?
Right here. Excuse me, Sheriff.
Sure.
Yes? Who are you, and what's the idea of the mask?
Don't draw, Sheriff. I'm glad you're here. Are you the doctor?
Yes, I am.
I need your help. There's an emergency case about 2 miles from here.
I suppose one of your outlaw pals stopped a bullet.
I'm no outlaw, Sheriff. I found an old man. He's badly hurt. He's been shot in the back.
Well, if you're telling the truth, why didn't you bring this mysterious old man in town?
I consider his condition too critical.
Well,
There's no time to argue. Is that your bag?
Yes, but
Now, hold on, mister.
Sheriff, before he lost consciousness, the old man spoke of a murder plot against someone's life. It might be a good idea if you came along. After you, gentlemen. Please, hurry.
Well, all I got to say is, mister, that you'd better be telling the truth.
Is this the place you left him?
Yes, but...
What's the matter, mister?
Well, Tonto's horse is gone.
Who's Tonto?
The friend I left with the old man.
You fixing to change the story you told us?
No, Sheriff, I told the truth. Please come inside. Tonto? I don't like this. Doctor, here's your patient. Tonto?
Well, Doc?
Mister,
How is he?
you said this man was alive when you left, that he had been shot in the back.
That's right. He tried to tell us something about a murder plot.
That's impossible.
What?
This man's also been shot through the head. He must have died instantly.
Get your hands up.
Shot through the head. Then the killer must have returned after I left.
Go on, get him up. I don't know what your game is, but I'm placing you under arrest until you give me some straight answers.
Listen to me, Sheriff. Something must have happened to my friend.
There's been a murder here, mister, and I'm holding you as a material witness. Doc, get his guns.
Right.
And we'll take a look at that face of his.
Sorry, Doctor, but I must find out what happened to Tonto. Toss your gun over here, Sheriff.
Why, you crazy Al Hudo.
You want me to shoot it out of your hand?
Why, thunder, you wouldn't.
Your gun, Sheriff. Thank you. Now I'll be on my way. The old fellow possessed important information.
Still sticking to that cock and bull story about a murder plot, huh?
Yes. The man or men who captured Tonto already murdered once. I'm going to try and prevent another killing.
Mister, I'm ordering you to turn Doc loose.
All right, Sheriff. Whatever you say.
Out of the way, Doc! I'd never get him at this distance. That's the fastest horse I ever saw.
Gee, I'm sorry I messed it up for you, Sheriff.
Oh, that's all right, Doc. I'm not licked yet.
If I could only make it up some way.
There is, Doc. I'm swearing you in right now as my deputy.
Good. We'll go after him together.
I'll see that masked man behind bars if it's the last thing I ever do.
After his escape, the Lone Ranger rode in a wide circle, hoping to pick up Tonto's trail. Meanwhile, in a hotel room in Batesville, Governor John Taggart was preparing for the long journey to Capital City.
Don't forget these, Governor.
Oh, thanks, Leo. But what did I tell you about calling me governor?
Sorry, Mr. Jones.
That's better. I tell you, this has been a vacation to remember. No papers to sign, no people to see, no petitions, no complaints. I've already decided to return here next year.
Yes, sir. The coach is ready downstairs now. I put the other baggage aboard.
You seem anxious to get started, Leo.
No,
Well, I hope it hasn't been too boring for you. I told Earl it was ridiculous for me to have a bodyguard, but you know how he is once he gets his mind set on anything.
Yes, sir. I know.
In a way, I'll be glad to get back, though. I have a lot of faith in Earl, and yet he's such an old woman about a lot of things, afraid to take chances.
Let me help you, sir.
What do you suppose Earl is doing right now?
I wonder. I'll ask you once more, Indian. Where did the masked man go? How much did he hear? Stubborn, aren't you? Well, when I get through with you, you'll talk. Did you talk to Leo? Did you tell him what happened?
No.
No. Why do you think I sent you to town? Suppose the old drifter spilled everything he knew before we had a chance to take care of him. Maybe the masked man didn't go to the law, but he certainly might try to warn Governor Taggart.
Governor Taggart, him in town?
There's your answer.
What do you mean?
Well, use your head, Earl. The masked man and the Indian were in that shack together, weren't they?
Yes, but just the same,
Well, if the Indian doesn't know about Taggart, how do you expect his pal to?
Yes, you're right.
I knew we were safe the minute I rode into Batesville. The masked man had anything to report, there'd been posses forming all over the place. I even dropped into a couple of cafes. Nobody knows anything.
We're a lot luckier than we have a right to be, George. I'm glad you didn't bother Leo.
I thought you would be.
I wonder where the masked man did go.
What difference does it make? We're in the clear. The old geezer's dead, and the only other person that knows about the plan is the Indian here.
Yes, he does know.
Why you plan to kill Governor Taggart? Him good man.
Maybe that's his trouble, Indian. Maybe we'd like somebody a little more broad-minded running this territory. Somebody like my brother, for instance.
Let's not waste any more time, George. It must be nearly 10.
It's 2 minutes after. The stage is on its way now. And as soon as it gets to Indian River, you're the acting governor.
Well, I hope Leo and his friend do the job quickly. I've always liked Taggart. Wouldn't want him to suffer any.
Taggart probably won't know what hit him. There'd be no reason to suspect his own bodyguard, especially with Leo sitting right beside him.
Well, let's be on our way. There'll be a lot of things I'll have to attend to in Capital City.
What about the Indian?
What do you mean, what about the Indian? Kill him, of course.
Foolish of me to ask, wasn't it?
Well, Indian, say your prayers.
Put up your hands, both of you. I picked up your trail about 20 minutes ago, Tonto.
Me find out Governor Taggart man I'm going to kill.
So I heard. Untie my friend.
We not have much time, Kemo Sabe. Governor Taggart leave on 10 o'clock stagecoach. Killer's on stagecoach, too. Man called Leo plan to kill him at Indian River.
I know a shortcut. We can get... Good work, Tonto.
These men brothers, Kemo Sabe. Them Earl and George Rand. After you leave cabin, them come back. Kill old man, take me away.
That's what I tried to tell the sheriff, but he wouldn't listen.
Sheriff?
He came along when I brought the doctor. When we found the old man dead, he wanted to hold me for questioning. I had a bit of trouble getting away. I want you to tie these men up, Tonto. When I return, we'll take them to Batesville.
Where you go now?
I think there's just time for me to stop the stagecoach before it reaches the river. Silver! Silver!
Over there. I knew we'd find him. We follow these tracks.
Take cover, Tonto. Come out of there, masked man. You too, engine. Next time I'll not shoot over your head.
It's the sheriff.
What we do, Kemo Sabe? Soon as stagecoach reach Indian River.
There's no time to lose. I have to get out of here somehow. We'll try the possum trick. You ready?
Not a chance, Sheriff. You'll have to come after us. I gave you a fair warning, mister.
There. Kemo Sabe! Wait! You not kill me!
All right, engine, raise your hands and stand up slow.
You not shoot.
Just remember you're covered, engine, and don't try any tricks. Now toss your gun on the ground.
See if those two are still alive, Doctor.
Them not dead. He's right, Sheriff.
I don't get this.
Put up hands. Sorry, Sheriff. You'll understand later.
Why, you?
Those two murdered the old fellow in the shack. Tonto will tell you exactly what happened. Right now, I have a job to do.
Where's he going?
Him try to prevent murder of Governor Taggart.
Governor Taggart?
You tie up men on ground. Me tell you whole story while you do that.
What's the matter with you, Leo? Ever since we left Batesville, you seemed preoccupied.
Have I? No reason for it, Governor.
Not expecting anyone to make an attempt on my life, are you?
What?
Well, you're my bodyguard. I thought perhaps you were keeping your eye out for highwaymen.
Well, you never can tell what might happen, can you, sir?
Oh, come, Leo. Who'd ever want to kill me? Oh, I remember this stretch of country. Let me see. Don't we come to a river pretty soon?
Yes, sir.
What was the name of that again?
They call it Indian River.
Come out of there. Keep your hands up.
What's the meaning of this outrage? If it's money you're after...
I don't want your money, Governor. All I'm interested in is seeing that you remain alive. Come down from there, driver.
So now you wild hoots are operating in broad daylight.
A mask isn't always the sign of a crook. Take yourself, for instance. You don't wear one.
You'd better explain yourself, mister. Why did you stop us?
Because these men were going to kill you when the stage reached Indian River.
You're out of your mind.
It's all over, Leo.
You see, there was an old man hidden in the shack when you and the Rand brothers made your plans. He overheard every word you said. Later, he was murdered. We've already captured Earl and George.
You're lying. How does he know about the shack if he's lying?
Keep quiet, you fool.
You're not going to pull me into a murder rap. Look, mister, I don't know anything about the old man. Leo said he was going to tell the law that I was wanted for jailbreaking in New York if I didn't help him kill the governor. He was behind the whole thing.
You idiot.
Have you heard enough, Governor Taggart?
I can't believe it. You mean to say Earl was in on this?
He was more than just in on it. You might as well know the true story. Earl hired me for this job. He wanted to take over the territory himself. If there's been any murdering, I haven't had a hand in it. Now, I don't aim to hang for something I didn't do.
Earl, a man I trusted.
We'll tie these two, Governor. Will you keep them covered?
I'm glad you arrived in time, mister. If I'd had sense enough to believe your story, I might have been able to help you.
Then Tonto explained everything.
He sure did.
When Rand brothers come to, them see sheriff standing by. Them confess plenty quick.
Dr. Barnes has taken them into town. They'll hang for murder. So you're Governor Taggart?
Yes, Sheriff.
Well, I'm sorry, Governor, that your vacation had to end this way.
Well, if it hadn't been for this man, it would have ended in a much worse manner. I don't know how to thank you, mister.
Tonto and I were glad to do what we could, Governor. Your administration has always been fair and honest. The West needs more men like you. Now that you're here to take over, Sheriff, Tonto and I must be on our way. I left my horse just beyond that ridge. Adios.
All right, Buster, inside. So now we've got the whole lot of them.
You know, Sheriff, I think that masked man is the most remarkable person I've ever met. It's a shame he isn't a lawman.
Well, he is a lawman in his own way. I always thought the stories about him were legends until the Indian told me different. It might surprise you to know, sir, that you were helped by the Lone Ranger.
Be with the Lone Ranger and Tonto same time next week for new dangers in another thrill-packed adventure. The Lone Ranger rides again.
The Lone Ranger.